Money doesn't solve all your problems. I would say money solves all your money problems. What I really believed was that money was bad and rich people were evil. And I was noble. I was a good person because I was poor. The IRS seized my restaurant and auctioned it off. I was $55,000 in debt, sleeping on the floor. I had self-sabotage my prosperity because I didn't think I deserved it. The subconscious mind is always going to win that fight. I have this entirely dysfunctional operating system, which is causing me to sabotage my success. We can't just bolt on new behaviors to an old belief system.
And today we're talking to Randy Gage from the Prosperity Factory, and we are debunking a big myth about money. Randy, my opening question to you is, does money solve all problems and make us happy?
Hey, let's see where we go with that. Well, I would say money doesn't solve all your problems. I would say money solves all your money problems, because there are problems that are just money problems. You have an abscessed tooth, you don't have money to go to the dentist, that's a problem. Money can solve it. You want to open your business, you need a certain amount of money to start up capital, that's a money problem. Money can solve it. It won't solve you being an alcoholic. It won't solve you cheating on your spouse. It won't solve your spouse cheating on you. It won't solve your tendency to drink 18 diet sodas a day and eat nothing but fast food and sit in front of a television or a computer screen for 12 hours a day. So money is one of the things that's the elements of a prosperous life, but it certainly doesn't define a prosperous life.
And then the next question that this would lead to is, what was your belief system about money? And then was that a true belief that money kind of makes it all because you, like everybody else, were chasing it for a while?
Well, I think the real nuance in this question comes from, what did I think I thought about money, and what did I really think about money?
All right, let's take it there then.
Yeah, because what I thought is, the opening you gave, which so many people believe, if I had more money, it would solve all my problems. That's what I thought I believed. And that's what I would have answered if you would have interviewed me back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, wherever. But that wasn't what I really believed. What I really believed was that money was bad and rich people were evil. And I was noble. I was a good person because I was poor.
So now we're already in the middle of this completely contradictory belief system, right? So on the one hand, you're being told, I'm being told, we all are being told, make the money, hustle, get there, and then your life will be magically great. And at the same time, the message is that the people that are there are terribly evil. So how did you reconcile that? Or what happened now to you for you to go on the journey that you eventually went on about money and prosperity?
It was about 30 years old, when I was about 30 years old, that the real transformation happened. I started off initially in a really bad place. I was in a jail for armed robbery at 15 years old. I had been a teenage alcoholic, teenage drug addict. I was bitter and angry with the world because I had a single mother who was trying to raise 3 kids by herself. I was the middle kid. We didn't have money. I hated it. I hated being poor. So I decided I'll fix the situation. I can be like Robin Hood. I will steal from the people who have money and I will give it to the poor, as in me. So, well, when you end up in jail and
it's compelling. It's compelling. It's a compelling argument, right?
Well, it worked great until it didn't.
Yeah.
And so when you're sitting there in jail for a couple of months waiting for your trial to come up, you get a chance to rethink some of your core foundational beliefs, right? So I rethought my beliefs about that, okay, this seems to be a good way to get money in the short term, but it has a really terrible retirement plan. So I need to rethink this. So I said, I'm going to do what everyone else does. I'm going to work hard, put my nose to the grindstone. I'm going to play by the rules. I'm going to get a job and work for a company and, do all the stuff. And that was not very satisfying to me. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I became an entrepreneur. But I hadn't changed my subconscious beliefs, still were there, which was that money is bad and rich people are evil. So at 30 years old, the IRS, which is the tax authorities here in the U.S., they seized my restaurant and auctioned it off for my tax debt. So I was $55,000 in debt, no house, no car, renting an apartment, and ended up selling my furniture to get by, to eat, sleeping on the floor. And that led me to really do the inner work, to say, okay, no. What's the real programming? Because I thought initially the reason I was sleeping on the floor is because the mean tax authorities were such jerks. What I came to understand was the reason I had sold my furniture and was sleeping on the floor is because I had self-sabotaged my prosperity because I didn't think I deserved it. And I didn't want to be one of those evil, mean, nasty, rich people.
Did you in this journey ever find out where this belief system comes from? I'm raised Catholic, and I remember very well that they were saying that the penny of the poor is worth more than the dollar of the rich, which is a complete utter lie. The Catholic Church certainly does not follow that doctrine themselves. They prefer the dollar of the rich over the penny of the poor. I mean, they'll take both. But what was it that got you to this moment of clarity? I mean, 15 is very young to even have a realization like that. Was there like a moment where you had an experience, or was it just like you realized one day this was all BS?
Well, step one was being 15 in jail. Step two was having the restaurant, losing that at 30. So then I get exposed. Somebody says they invite me to a science of mind church, and I'm studying Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind. And I love it. And my friend said, oh, you love that? You should try the Unity Church. They're another non-denominational Christian church, but metaphysical or new thought, new age, sometimes hear them called. And that was, of course, founded by Reverends Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. And Charles wrote a book called Prosperity back in, 1930s or something. So I studied that. I studied Ernest Holmes, and that began what has become a lifetime passion, the study of the principles of prosperity. And that's when I recognized, wow, I have this entirely dysfunctional operating system, which is causing me to sabotage my success. And I didn't even know it was there. And I have to find, isolate, and eviscerate these limiting beliefs that money is bad, rich people are evil. To be successful in business, you have to be a terrible parent. To run a successful company, you have to exploit your employees and plunder the environment and rip off the shareholders. And, these are all the beliefs that 85% of the people walking around on planet Earth right now still have those beliefs in their subconscious mind. And in their conscious mind, they're saying, no, I want that promotion. No, I would love a nicer house. I would like to get a beautiful car. I would like to have free time with the loved ones in my life. I'd like to go on nice vacations. So they have this
double binding message.
It's a collision between their belief structure of their conscious mind and their subconscious mind. And Beate, with the subconscious mind is always going to win that fight.
And getting to that realization in itself is a moment where the sky opens, the angels sing, and the hand of God itself reaches out when you when you realize that. Now, you created that studying and your negative experiences. You now went and created your own prosperity system. So tell me sort of how this emerges, and then let's dive into what it is.
Yeah. So it emerges over the years as I'm one of the great curses of my life, which is also one of the great blessings of my life, is I'm on the autism spectrum. So part of the payoff of that is I'm this really rational, logical, analytical person. So I'm diagnosing everything, I'm analyzing everything. And I just begin this study of prosperity and then what works and what doesn't work. And I get the courage to do the inner work, to look inside instead of, everybody thinks it's their ex-wife or their ex-husband or the president or the prime minister or the economy or the global warming. No, we're all the results of the thoughts we give precedence to. James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, right? One of the most profound books in the history of civilization. He took one sentence from Proverbs and he wrote like 8 amazing books on that one, proverb. And so I get into the study of that and then I start to manifest results. So it's not like, I don't want to say I have a system because then people think, oh, okay, he's got a $499 home study course he's selling. No. I created an operating system.
All right, so let's talk about that. It doesn't feel like, convince yourself of what you think, but you created the 7 elements of prosperity. So talk to us about you said it's an operating system. Take me through this step by step.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't even know I could say it's a step-by-step thing. I think it's a evolutionary process and it plays out a little different for everyone. It's going to play out different for you because you were Catholic, right? It's going to play out. And for me, I wrote a book. It's called Radical Rebirth. And I break down the 6 main areas of belief in our lives that we govern our lives by, right? Money and success, job and career, marriage and relationships, health and wellness, right? And then I kind of just detail chapter and verse, what are the negative beliefs that we have in each of those areas? Those are the beliefs we've got to blow up and we got to replace them with beliefs that empower us, right? And that's what the operating system is about. We have to clear out all those negative, toxic, dysfunctional beliefs that are sabotaging our success. And we have to say, okay, I have a belief which you got programmed with, and that's why I say it's different for everyone. The guilt, where do we get this negative programming? The education system, organized religion, the data sphere, TV, radios, internet, podcasts, social media, right? Think of social media. There is so much negative, dysfunctional programming you get if you're doom scrolling through X or Instagram or TikTok every day for hours, which many people are. So you got to counter program that, right? You got to recognize that. And then you have to say, well, no, this belief that I have to be a bad mommy to be a successful entrepreneur doesn't serve me. Mm-hmm. I need to replace it with an empowering belief that is, I have my priorities clear and my child is one of the most important things in my world. But I don't have to be poor to be a good role model. In fact, quite the opposite. If I want to raise a healthy, happy, contributing child, the best thing I can do is be a positive role model on how to balance loving relationships with work and success and financial security.
So now let me interject here. So for somebody who is now caught in these belief systems, and many times they don't know that they're caught in these belief systems because stuff's just happening, life's messy. How do I have the recognition that something's not aligned? And then how do I change a belief system? Because it's easy to say, well, just reprogram that thought. But if that's a program that's running, how do I change that?
So a couple things. Go to my website, randygage.com, right on the homepage for free. I'm not selling anything. It's a PDF, The 7 Elements of an Abundant Life. And just download that and read it. And then it'll really give you an idea of, hey, here's what a prosperous life looks like. And then as far as, you raised a great question, like, how do I know? How do I find out? How do I discover if I have these limiting beliefs? The answer is, it's so easy. Are you healthy? Are you happy? And are you prosperous? And if the answer is not yes, 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 then we know you don't have the right beliefs. You do have the limiting beliefs. Because if you are not manifesting wonderful relationships with the people you love and care about, if you're not manifesting health and wellness and energy, and if you're not making good money, creating financial security for yourself, then you bought into some limiting beliefs that you need to eliminate.
Okay, so let's dive in. So let's say I'm sitting here, I'm listening to this, and I'm going like, I'm in. My income could and should be better based on my knowledge and my skill set. Or some people are looking to find a new opportunity right now, and they believe that the job market's really difficult. How do I change this first thing? Like, give me like a pointer? It's like, okay, I want it. You got me. I'm committed. How? How do I change it?
Okay, couple of things right away. Number one, get off social media. Social media is rotting your brain. If you're like me and you're a public figure, because I've written now 16 books and I want to support the publishers who get my work out there, so I'm on social media, right? But I'm on social media as a content creator, not as a consumer. Because I know if I allow myself more than 10 or 15 minutes a day on social media where I go and put up my posts and interact with my tribe, I know if I allow myself more exposure to that, it lowers my consciousness, takes me from prosperity consciousness to poverty consciousness. So start there. Number two, when you go to sleep, take this little supercomputer you're on all day and charge it in a room that you're not sleeping in. Don't make the last thing before you go to sleep somebody's rant on X or their diatribe about politics on Facebook, right? Shut that down. Get it. There's all kind of research about the effect of the blue screens on your sleep habits. If you have a disrupted sleep, you got terrible health. If you got disrupted sleep, you don't wake up with energy. You don't wake up feeling healthy. You don't wake up and create a good mindset. So simple things like that. And then that book of mine, Radical Rebirth, that would be like, if you feel like I'm really that would be a good place to start, a great place to start. Because you'll look at all those, literally all those areas. Because health, let's take marriage and relationships. Your core belief on that was set by the time you were 8 years old. If your mom was abusive to your father cheated on your mother, if they argued all the time, you got a core foundational belief about relationships before you ever had your first one. Health and wellness. You've got a family like mine. Everybody's in the hospital all the time. Everybody's overweight. People take, 6 prescriptions in their 20s and 10 prescriptions in their 30s, and they're on 18 prescriptions and when they're 60. You got a core belief about health and wellness, marriage and relationships, health and wellness, God and religion, money and success. That book will help you really identify, wow, these are batshit crazy beliefs that I have, and they're destroying my prosperity.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that there really isn't any major event. It is an internal exploration to say, what do I really believe in? And I want to interject something and then ask you if this might be helpful for our audience. My parents grew up in World War II, and my grandparents in World War I, and then they had babies in World War II in Germany. So you can only imagine on how screwed up a lot of these things are in my family. So I'm watching my brother and my sister both, and my mother, needless to say, in this incredibly financially challenging environment. And I can see scarcity in action. In my entire life, because I've done so much work, I feel like I've been fighting it somewhat successfully, somewhat, still not effortlessly. So help me to understand, like, how can I see it and recognize it in others and still know that I sort of have it, but how do I break through it? How do I not make it my belief system anymore?
You got to replace it with the empowering belief. My podcast, my blog, my books, they all have one thing in mind. They're all based on one thing, as transformation. Because we can't just bolt on new behaviors to an old belief system. I want to be rich, so I'm listening to podcasts, and Tim Ferriss said I should take a sauna every time after I work out. I should go in the sauna. Okay, great. And Joe Rogan said I should do a ice bath plunge every morning to get, okay, so I should. But if you don't change the programming, if you don't change the operating system, it isn't going to happen, right? If you're making $62,000 a year, you have to become the person who makes $350,000 a year. And then you have to become the person that makes $1 million a year. And then you have to become the person who makes $10 million a year. Then you have to become the person, and on and on and on, right? It's the transformation we have to go through. And so we start with the programming. That's why I said, get off social media. Look at the 5 people you hang out with, right? Where's their consciousness? What kind of income do they have? What kind of health do they have? What kind of marriages do they have? What kind of relationships do they have with their loved ones? What's their relationship with money? Because we get programming. Programming creates beliefs. Beliefs create a vision or expectation. And then it's that vision or that expectation that creates the daily habits. So the programming creates the beliefs, the beliefs create the expectation creates the behavior produces the results. So when I change my identity from I'm the guy who hates to work out to I'm the guy who does cardio every day. And if I don't, I feel dirty. I feel like I didn't brush my teeth or I didn't take a shower. That's transformation, right? You change your belief to I'm a voracious reader. You change your belief to I'm in shape and I'm flexible and I have energy and I exercise regularly. But that's all going to start by changing the programming of origin, right?
I really like sort of the simplicity of this. And at the same time, I find this to be not an easy thing at all times, because it is so much easier to fall into the blaming of circumstances, the IRS, what other people are doing to you, the insurance company, what sort of happened. I find it is easy sometimes to not take responsibility and blame someone or something for doing it to you. And in marketing, I mean, we use these things all the time where we have the third party villain that everybody can agree to hating. But you say it is really a decision that I make, and then I become that person that I want to be or that I desire to be. Now, I want to just switch here for 1 second. What about people that are very successful and they got the financial, the money thing figured out, but they still are not happy? What are we telling them?
It's fascinating. I work with billionaires even, right? I've got people who they come in the program and they got the private jets, they've got the home, the beach home, the mountain home, they got the cars, they got the bling bling, but they're 2 cheeseburgers away from a heart attack, or their kids couldn't pick them out of a police lineup. And with them, I'm going right back to that PDF, that the free PDF, which is, hey, let's look at what a prosperous life really looks like. Because it's, okay, great, you got a private Gulfstream. If you got nobody who wants to fly with you, what's the point? Great, you're in a 5-star hotel suite that costs $15,000 a night. If there's nobody there with you, what's the point, right? So we have to go back and look and say, all right, let's look at how we do this in a holistic way, what real prosperity looks like. And that is never going to be just about making a lot of money. It's always going to be about the health, the relationships, the contribution. And then money and material things is part of that whole thing.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think that the understanding of what prosperity is for me and how I want prosperity to be showing up in my life is really a key. That's what I'm taking away from our conversation today, is that it's almost like an individual decision, because some people don't want children, and some people want lots of children, and some people want to make an impact, and some people really don't. So the prosperity, the definition of prosperity has to come before that. And you say, if I get off all this social media stuff and I actually start thinking about what prosperity is for me, not what is being dangled in front of my eyes, power, politics, jets, all that stuff, then I might actually have a chance to figure this out.
You definitely will have a chance to figure it out.
Excellent. All right. So give us all the resources again on how somebody that's now interested in working with you or learning more about you can go. We have the website, which will be in the show notes.
Yeah. If you go to randygage.com, podcast is there, blog is there, my books are on Amazon. When this show comes out, there will be a publication date and a way to pre-order my next book, which is called Wealth Without Apology, which is really a thing. I think
very sassy. Yes. No, amongst wealthy people, for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
That they don't have to hide their wealth. Yes. I like it.
Yeah. And they don't have to feel guilty about it, and they don't have to apologize for it. Right. Because it's fascinating how many wealthy people are still programmed and they're getting rackets run on them by the people around them. Right. Who want their money, want to take it from them, want to, So this book really is, I feel like, the culmination of all my prosperity work to this point. And I think that would be another great resource for people.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your prosperity knowledge with us. And I'm sure that our audience will take a few things away that will be meaningful for them to rethink on what prosperity is for them. So thank you for being here.
All right. Thanks for having me on, and everybody else. Peace.
And that is it for us for today. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode of The Business Growth Architect. As always, we are incredibly grateful that you spend this time with us. And if you have a takeaway, please share it with us or share this episode with one other person who can benefit from what we were talking about today. And with that, I say goodbye, and until next time. That's it for this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, Founders of the Future. If you're done playing small and ready to build the future on your terms, subscribe, share, and help us reach more trailblazers like you. And if you're serious about creating, growing, and scaling a business that's aligned with who you are, Schedule your uncovery session at uncoverysession.com. Lead with vision. Move with purpose. Create your future.